Hi, this is Dave with Media Digitronics. What I'm going to do in this video is show how you can really quickly get started with a family tree, a dynamic content family tree using ScrapPage. So I'll show you how ScrapPage works. It's pretty simple to do. This is the workspace that you see when the program opens. And the first thing you do, of course, is you start a project. Now, you have a number of options of how you can do that, but probably the best way to start is to pick from some of the presets. So let's start with an 8x12 and we'll go in landscape mode. Now you can give it a color, you can give it a texture, you can do all sorts of things, but it's not real important that you worry about that right at the beginning because you can always change it later. So for now, let's just say I'm going to give it this brownish background and we'll just have a solid color background. Okay, so that's where we start. Now, what we do after that is we have to add some content to this page. So the thing I'm going to do first is I'm going to go in and I'm going to add a picture. Now, I have put together some tree elements, and these are kind of primitives that you can use to create just about any sort of a tree layout you need. Here's a 4-generation one that'll work out pretty well. I'll just open it up, and you'll see that now I have this here. I can size it by grabbing these grow handles here. If you wanted to, you could rotate it, but for the most part, you wouldn't really want to do that. So let's just set the rotation back to 0. So I can size it up. I can skew it a little bit to fit the page better. So if I want like this, I could put it like so. And then what I would do probably, since it's a grayscale to start with, you can color it. And I'll just give it a darker brown color just to make it complementary to the background that I've chosen. All right. So there I've got a kind of a tree layout that we can start working with. Now, what you do then is suppose after this you wanted to put some name contents in here. You might say, let's grab a little text box and set it right here and type in, this guy's name is Walter Lay, all right? And we'll tell it to auto size and fit there. Now you can change that size to anything you want. And if you wanted it to be a 2-line where you would include his dates of birth and death, you could do that as well. All right, so anyway, for now, we'll just start with that. Okay, so beyond that, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a button. And the button I'm going to add is one of these I call a photo button. It doesn't really have a photo attached to it yet, but we'll just set it right here. And that'll give your viewers an indication that there's something happens if you click on that button. Just so I don't move things around, by the way, I'm going to lock this tree in position now, so I can't select it unless I unlock it. But that's okay because you can always unlock it and move it around if you wanted to later on. But if we select this button, I'll color it to be complementary to everything as well, so it now has the same coloration as the tree. Now you can link to this button. I could link to his name if I wanted to, by the way. You can link to anything, but right now I'm going to link to this button. And before I can do this, I'm going to make it a photo button, but I have to tell ScrapPage where I want the photo to show up. And by doing that, I have to include something I call a media holder. Now, the media holders can be things like a slideshow holder. They could be a photo holder, graphic message, pop-up text, all sorts of different things. But we want this to be a photo holder. So I'm going to include this photo holder, and I'm going to say when it comes up, I sort of want it to pop up in the middle of the page. Now you notice it kind of hides everything right now, and I don't really want it to do that. So I'm just going to click over here on this on the right-hand side here. If I just click these little check boxes, I can turn it on or turn it off. So I'm going to turn it off so it doesn't get in the way. But now that I've got the holder in there, I can go up here and tell this button that I put in, I want it to be a pop-up photo. All right, so let's go in here and we're going to add or change the photo that we have. So I don't have one right now, so I'm going to go up here and under my previous example that I built for you guys to look at, I'm going to pick, let's pick this photo here. We'll just pick that one. And they'll say, yes, it is a bit smaller than the photo holder, but I want it to upscale to fit. All right, so there. Now it is in there, and I'll tell it OK. Oh, one other thing I wanted to do before I leave that is I wanted to show you over here, you have the options of saying, do I want this photo to be visible at startup or not? do I want it to add a closing X? That is, once you open it, can you close it again? And would I like to have a bounding rectangle around it? Let's just suppose that yes, I do want to have a closing X, but I don't want it to be visible at startup. All right, so I'm going to tell it that's the configuration that I want. Now, we've built a very simple example here, but what I would do then after that is I would go up here and I'd say I want to make this into an action page. Keep in mind that this is a page that's going to contain some media content now. So it's not just a static page. You can make a static page if you want, but the real fun comes when you make them action pages. So to make this an action page, I just tell it, yes, I want it to be an action page, and I'm going to build it for local viewing. That is, I'm not going to upload this to the internet. Right now, I'm just going to build this for local viewing. So what I do then is I just tell it, hey, I want to build it. I'm going to give it a name. Let's, for now, give it a name like test. And we'll just tell it, yes, that's what I want my page to be saved as. And it'll overwrite it because I already had one in there called test, but that's okay. And if we want to view it, now we just bring it up, and you'll see that if I click on this P that we put in there, that Wally's picture shows up. And I can then close it if I want. Anytime I want, I can bring it back up. Now, I could have stuck P's all over this place for this particular example. But if I wanted to, I'll tell you what, let's do that. Let's add another button, and we'll go down here and add another photo button in this case that we're doing, and we'll go down here and we'll put this button right here and color it brown also the way we did the other one. And in this case, I'm going to add a text box that's going to say, for her case, this is Wally's wife, and I'm going to say that her name is Betty Conley. All right. And we'll auto size her as well and stick her there. Now, we've already got the photo holder in here, so we don't have to worry about putting another one in. But we want to add content to Betty's photo button here. So I'll select it. I'll go up here to links and drop down to where it says photo. But this time, I'll tell you what, rather than just make it a regular old photo, let's make it a film strip. That's always an interesting thing to do. So one of the things that Photoshop or that ScrapPage can do is go down here under action, and you'll see that it can make a pano image. All right, so I have to add a few images here that I'm going to turn into a panoramic layout. Now to do that, I'll just pick, let's say this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. How about those? That'll be good enough. So I open them up. Now you can see these things are bigger than they have a certain amount of black space on the sides. Now I can crop them if I wanted to. I could just go in here with a random crop and say, hey, I want to just pick out this part of the image that's not blackened. For instance, like that. And on this one, I might do the same thing. I might say, give me just this part of the image. It's up to you as to whether how you want to maintain or manage your photos, but ScrapPage really doesn't care. It just says, okay, if you got these things, let's just crop them and make them look the way you want them to be. All right, so you just crop out that part there, and on the first one, we'll just go in here and do a random crop and pick this much of her, let's say, down to the bottom here. All right, so now I've got that. I can make it either be a horizontal or a vertical. I think I'm going to stick with vertical here, and we'll create the film strip. Okay, so that did it. There's the film strip that it just made. And if we want, we can copy that to the clipboard. And then we just close this off. And then in this link here that we had, we'll go back in here to the photo link, and I'm going to paste it from the clipboard. There's the film strip. I have to tell ScrapPage that it is a film strip so that it knows. I'll keep the closing X, and we'll keep the bounding rectangle thing. All right, and tell it, okay, close. Now, if we rebuild the page and we say, let's make this action page again, and we'll go in here and we'll build it for local viewing one more time. We'll go back and call it test again. So we'll tell it, yes, overwrite that. And when it did, it's finished doing that. Now we bring up this active page, And you can see that here we had the picture of Walter. And if we go down here to Betty, we get this film strip that we'd built. So her film strip is in here. Now these film strips can contain many, many different pictures. So you can, if you had a lot of pictures of someone in your tree that you wanted to include, you could do that. Okay, so that's a real quick example of how things are created in ScrapPage. Again, you could populate all of these tree nodes with names, and you could include other information like pop-up texts, or you could include build additional pages, and you could link this page to another page. For instance, if we had a whole bunch of information on Wally that we wanted to include, we could link his name to, or any other button for that matter. We could link him to another page that is going to contain a ton of information about just him, and then have ways of either with drop-down menus or anything else to get back to your main family tree anytime you want it. So that's an overview of how pages are created in ScrapPage. It's all pretty straightforward. The learning curve isn't very steep at all. The ability to create these dynamic pages that give you just a wealth of data on a single page is really kind of fun to do. So you've done all the research into your information. ScrapPage just gives you a way of sharing it in a kind of a unique and fun way. Okay, so for now, I'm going to sign off, and hopefully this will give a quick overview of how ScrapPage can be used for genealogy purposes.